It's Nancy welcoming you to Garden Scroll, and on today's post I had told you I was so excited about getting almost an inch of rain, and I think the name of the post is, does every gardener love the rain? So actually I think God just decided, well, if she loves it so much, I'll give her some more. Because look at this, we are almost at 5 inches, 4 3/4 of an inch of rain. And honestly, it even got our path. So I can see at some time a person could actually get too much rain. But before that, I totally was thinking you couldn't get too much rain. Does every other gardener get as excited as I do when it rains? It's not raining right at the moment, but it's still dripping off the house from the rain, and we may still get some more. It's just like having time fall out of the sky, because when God waters, we don't have to, and when we don't have to water, there's a little bit of time to do something else in the garden. This little angel is standing on her head though, and that's because the winds got up, and I'll have to fix that. There may be several things I'll need to fix today. And I noticed that some of the little pots that are up under the eave of our porch didn't get any rain in them, and so I did put a couple of little buckets out to where they would get some water in them, and I will give them a drink of God's good nutrient rich water so they can have some rainwater too. Look at my hydrangeas. I'm so excited. This is the biggest it's ever been, and the most blooms it's ever had. And my hydrangeas may look like other people's hydrangeas before long. They look so great. And most of these little plants are doing well, and of course they love that rain. I'm thinking about clipping a little piece of this one off and starting it somewhere else, just because the rain will allow me to give it a good chance. It may not make it, but there'll be some left that hopefully will make it. But because this stem is not really filling out with little leaves like I was hoping it would, oh, but I do see that it's coming out from the bottom there. So either way, we need to take this top off, and then we'll have two. This is that pretty coleus with the purple veining in it. And my little wandering Jew is about gone. It didn't make it last year. I just put it in there and it built its own root and just kept going and looked great. But this year it did not. But luckily I did stop at one of the nurseries that I've been stopping at in the city, and I found some more wandering Jew, so I will put that in there most likely, or I may put it in the other pot that I have on the other side of the house. And this is that little curly airplane plant. I did get some more begonias, and not only that, I got another Rex begonia. Oh, I love these, you know I do, but I also can't do them. They always die for me, but hopefully, you know, someday I'm going to get that figured out, and we're going to go, and I'll have these going everywhere, I hope. At least several of them. They're so pretty. Love that color, just the color in the leaves. Leaves that don't even need a bloom. They're just so colorful and beautiful. All the Rex begonias are. And then this I got one of these early on, but I don't think it's going to make it at all, and so I decided to try again. I did get some more double and petunias because I have several places where I need a low growing, maybe trailing, and these do trail, so I did get these. I also got some dew plant. I've been hoping to find some of this. I was hoping to find some on sale, but I was hoping to find it because I did get some of the in-ground cactus soil, which is also great for succulents. And because my hen and chickens came back for the first time overwintered with using that for their soil, I'm hoping to get this started in some of it where I can keep it, because I've started this several times with no luck, but hopefully this time I will have. And then this one was on sale. This is a little Gerber daisy. I'm not sure what color it is, but either way it'll be beautiful. And I may have already shown you that I did go ahead and find a delphinium. I love these, but also have no luck with them. I've never got them to come up from seed, and I've only had 2 that came back. They are supposed to come back. They are perennial, but mine rarely come back. And if they do, the 2 that I did get to come back did not make it another winter. So, but they were pretty that summer. I love these little plants. And I found another sedum. This is a darker sedum, I believe, than the ones I had. And I love the sedum. And of course this little powder blue, I don't think you can go wrong with it either. It just makes every other plant that's around it look so pretty. And this is another little job I would like to take care of today. Where that bare spot is, I did have a spike in there, and it was looking good, but it didn't make it. That wind and heat, after it being inside and not conditioned to come back outside, it just destroyed it. But this is supposedly a Kong coleus. Right now it looks more like a regular coleus, but I'm going to see if I can't snip part of that off and put it right there in that bare spot, and hopefully that will grow up together, fill that out, and just have a good chance to look gorgeous. And I did not find a lot of coleus this year. This one is a new one for this year, a new plant, not a new color or type of plant, but it's very pretty. And this one also is it's a snippet off of another plant that I purchased. And then this one is one that came out of the window glasses. This one, and this one. So hopefully they will grow up, and they're doing a good job of it right now if the snails don't get after them, and that'll be great if they do. And actually maybe later on in the season I can even get some of the starts from these when they get big enough. They're not big enough right now, I don't think, although it's possible that you could clip some off and get 2 started now. I've done it, and I may still even today, because like I said, I don't have a lot of coleus this year. I didn't find a lot. Usually Walmart nurseries has a lot of coleus and lots of periwinkle. They usually have the periwinkles in the 6-packs, but I just missed all that stuff. Look at this beauty. Look at that. And I believe that's one I had in the window. I know this one right beside it is, and it's looking great too. And as you know, my little Swedish ivy didn't make it. It didn't make it when I left it inside. It just died. I don't know. Other people can grow this all over the room, and here I am trying to just grow one in a pot that I can actually bring back out, but I didn't. But I did find this, and it does do well for me outside. So now that it's out here, I think it will just flourish and just come on over and probably cover this little pot up before the season's over. But our little Walmart didn't totally let me down. I found this there yesterday, or day before yesterday actually, and it looks great. It's one of the Kong coleuses, and you can tell it's a Kong. And these little pots, I'm going to just end up putting seed in, I'm pretty sure. I also found, look at this pretty fuchsia. And then this little plant, which is all wet right now, and you can't see just how beautiful it is, but I'm going to turn one of these up so you can at least see the color on this. And I think that this little fuchsia will bring out that red and that little yellow petunia, and I think this little pot may shine too. I may need to put a couple more little things in there where it's bare. We'll see how that goes. Right here is where I had my little Tyrannia plant, and yes, it's gone. It's just totally gone. Well, last time I looked, there was a little bit of green on this, but it's gone. It's not going to make it. I might as well just to pull it up. But that's probably where I'll go ahead and put that other one and see if it'll have a chance there. And I see I have a morning glory growing up here. I did notice it before, but I thought, well, I'll wait and see which type it is. And some of them don't get quite as invasive as others. I've got one that's called a tie-dye that doesn't quite go everywhere, and it's very pretty, but I think they're all pretty. I love a morning glory, and yet I don't like a morning glory because they put seeds everywhere and take over everything, and you just spend more time pulling up morning glories than you do enjoying your plants. So that part I don't like, but sometimes I do try to keep a few and try to remember to get rid of most of their seeds before they drop them and come up everywhere. And this little pot, I just had impatiens in it, pretty red-orange impatiens, and they just died, all of them. I assume it was a snail or roly-poly. I just have trouble with those in this area, and especially with impatiens. They love that little thick, watery stem, especially when it's new and tender. They'll go after it any time, though. And I did go ahead and put some more. These are white petunias this time is what I found. I mean, impatiens is what I found this time. And then right there in the back, I did put a couple of vinca or periwinkle. And it looks like I need to try this again because these little starts that I put here from the back are just too scraggly. They're probably not going to make it. Little bits of them may make it, but it would be wise to go ahead while the ground is wet and the weather is cool enough to do some of that stuff. I need to get it done if I possibly can. And this is where I want one of those little petunias. I tried a dianthus here, which would have been great, but it just didn't make it. It would have been great because sometimes they come back and it would have been there to greet me in the spring, but it didn't make it. So I'm planning on putting a petunia there and trying again. One of those beautiful double petunias. These are all little volunteer petunias that came back from last year's seed. This little pot and this little pot needs some seed in them. It looks like there's something there trying to come up, but I definitely need to probably put some more in there. Probably. But as I was saying it, I thought maybe I did already go ahead and plant some zinnia seeds in here because there's several little things coming up there. But I'm not sure I want to go with a maybe. I want to go with a for sure. I did plant some there. This is Caphathia. I can never say it that right, but it's a torch lily. And I would have probably never got these. I go for the bloom. The bigger, the better. But my husband said, look at that plant. So I just got some of these for him. And of course, now I love them too. And the pretty yarrow. I saw a purple that I wanted, or a kind of a, oh gosh, what would you call it? Somewhere between a red and a purple. But it was beautiful, but it was also a little more expensive than I wanted to pay right at the moment, so I didn't get it. But you know, they're perennial, they last. If that was the only thing I was getting, I may have went ahead and gotten it, but since I got several other things, I didn't. Look at these. Do you remember I told you they would go ahead and turn purple? And they were all looking like this little part right here. And I know you probably thought again, is she being too optimistic? But they do that. You can just put them in a spare room, a closet, wherever for the winter, and bring them out in the springtime and let them get air and rain, and they just take off and go right back to their beautiful pretty purple color. Oh, and speaking of that, I forgot to point out to you that I found this. It's a little fuzzy. Let me see if I can bring it over here where you can see it any better. But it's a little fuzzy. Not purple heart, but wandering Jew. It's a little fuzzy wandering Jew, and it's thick and has a light bit of a fuzz like a lamb's ear on it. It's very pretty. Then back over here, because I wanted to show you that I also have bloom on my lace cap hydrangea. This is one of my favorites, and I want to get one called Incredible at some time. The colors and everything just look brighter. Even the garden is rejoicing over the rain. I'm rejoicing with it. And I think this little coleus might be big enough to take a little clipping to put in one of the smaller pots. I have an idea where to put it. And this was my Instagram post for today. This beautiful butterfly weed. And we went just traveling around in the country a little bit, back to a place where we used to travel as a child to go visit my Uncle Holder. And I actually got lost. It had changed so much, but my husband was right there and he knew exactly how to get us out of there. Well, he said not exactly, but anyway, we got out of it easily, and it was a wonderful, fun little experience driving those old red dirt roads. But we saw lots of these growing wild, and of course I paid for this one. But I still love it. And look at this little grouping. Isn't that pretty this morning? Enjoying the rain. Just the pretty miniature hollyhock and the white daisies. How pretty they are. And I think I showed you that these little seeds are making a showing too, which encourages me to go ahead and plant some more. And I got some rose moss for some of these little pots, and I need to get those in there and get those put around in the areas where I need them. And this little one, if I can find it, and hopefully I think I can find my little hanger that goes to this. This is actually a hanging container, and I would like to get in, if I can find a good spot where it gets some shade and some sun, and put this pretty bougainvillea in it. I actually got a shepherd's hook yesterday for some of this stuff so I could put it on it and just kind of display it like that instead of just sitting here in front of our little swing. And I got that second bougainvillea because I thought this one might not make it. If you remember what it looked like when I brought it out, it looked terrible, but then it got worse because the wind and the heat just about totally destroyed. There was almost nothing on there, but it started coming back. Tiny little leaves that are now good sized leaves, good sized foliage, looking so good. I love this bougainvillea. And no, there's not hardly any plant that I don't love, but some more than others. And I see that I had a little purple salvia right here that's probably a snail. Something took it out. maybe just the winds, but you can tell that there's one right back here. If I can get it in focus for you where you can. Right there, and you can tell that that green is looking healthy and good, and that's wonderful. I may see if I can find another one to put on the other side like I had it, or I may just go ahead and put something else there. And another job for today, or sometime really soon while it's still damp and not as hot as it has been being, I would like to take some of these which are volunteer petunias that just came back from last year, and there's way too many of them there for them to grow and be really pretty. They won't have room to do what they need to do if they're all scrunched together like that. So I'm hoping that I will be able to get some of these and put them in other pots where there's not anything. And in my little pyramid, I used to call it my strawberry pyramid, but actually I also planted some vining vinca in there, and it just took over, and then finally I got rid of the vining vinca and trying to use it for a petunia pyramid. So I need to get some of these transplanted into that being this little area right here in the back gardens. And you can tell, if I get up there close enough, that it does have some. It tried to come back, but because my water hoses are not there, this one is practically non-existent as far as any water coming out of it because it's all gushing out in another spot. I did purchase some hoses to try to fix some of those, and of course all the hose menders, but some of them, it's just mending it is not going to be the way to go, so I'm going to have to just get new hoses. But some of them will be able to mend. But honestly, if you try to do this in the heat and it affects you the way it does me, I was just not getting that done. So that's another thing I would love to get done before the heat comes back on. But here is where I want to put some of those, to transplant some of those petunias in some of this area where there is absolutely nothing coming up. Now this I'll probably leave there because it's an autumn, I think it's an autumn crocus. If not, there is one in there somewhere. This one, you know what, as I'm looking at it, that doesn't look like a crocus. You know what it looks like? One of those widow's tears plants, Trinity plants, which are pretty, but they don't need to be here because I put those in a pot to be able to control them. They just take over and fill up everything and just still keep going. So I don't really want this too invasive for this area for me. But I do want these little petunias all over in the areas where there aren't any. That's my plan, to hopefully get some of that done today or tomorrow as soon as possible. Look at this beautiful lily, but notice how they're hanging down. Sometimes that's a sign that a bloom bug has taken it off of there. So I'm going to go take a closer look at this. But I don't see bloom bugs in there, so that's wonderful. I did spray for those not just a few days ago, so hopefully there's not any. This could just be from the rains hitting it too. I think I'll go ahead and take these off because they won't continue to look fresh and pretty. They'll go ahead and fall off and fade off, but isn't that pretty? These little boogers are what I have trouble with. And you would think, surely not. No bigger than your thumbnail. But these things can just destroy so much so quickly. And there'll be more than one. They cluster together sometimes. But they're not the ones that get right down in my bloom and destroy them. And I don't see any of those, and I hope that I don't get to show you any of those because I hope I don't find any of them. I had to take my little angel and put her someplace else because we lost the limbs off of our peach tree. But I wanted to show you this little lily. Look at it. Isn't that a pretty yellow, pretty bright yellow? And this little pot is pretty much begging to have something in it. You know, I may have put some seed in there. There's a couple coming up. Of course, I have hoses all over the place. But last evening when my husband was out watching the clouds, I went ahead and trimmed some of this that was hanging over into my path away so that you can actually see the path now. And I took some off of this is a white crepe myrtle, and my husband trimmed it down for me so it wouldn't hopefully reach up to the electrical wire. But it was so far out that you couldn't see this little pot here, which another thing I need to do something with. But it just looks so much better where you can look out and at least see that there's more garden back there behind it. And we saw one of these little Picasso cannas in bloom, and my husband said, "Look at this." And I said, "We have one of those, but it's not blooming yet." So he thought it was pretty too. It's that pretty yellow and red intertwined, yellow with red in it. And I'm looking at this little pot and realizing that I have not only one but two vinca that did not, or periwinkle that didn't make it. But this little one's looking good. And this little newly transplanted miniature sedum is loving this rain. It's just deciding to stay, I'm pretty sure. This little plant is a Copper King hibiscus. It'll have a big pretty white bloom with a reddish pink center. Look at the little dunce cap on this. It's coming right out of its dormancy on both the front and the side. Now this side is still not looking like it's coming out, and it may not, but it still could. I've seen them do it. I just love that I went ahead and put some of this Niobe clematis on here with the President clematis, because it blooms, the President blooms sooner. It has one more little petal on it than the Niobe does, but they're both about the same color. They both are about the same beauty, and one of them goes away and the other one gives us some more time to enjoy this beautiful color of clematis. Look, we almost got another inch of rain, and we had another, was it an inch or 2 inches that we got last, I think it was just about an inch last week, and then another inch this week, which is great. And it's starting to mist now, so I may not get to do all the garden work that I was planning, but that's okay. I am not going to complain about the rain. And honestly, if it's only misting, I've certainly been known to come ahead and go into the garden and transplant some things. That's really the perfect time for them. They don't go into transplant shock, and most usually they just go right along growing happily like that's where they were planted. So what a lovely walk in the rain that was. Thank you for going on that walk with me in the rain. And also I wanted to say thank you to all my subscribers. I know I don't have a lot of subscribers right now, but I don't think God's finished with all this yet. And I am so grateful for each one of you. I don't know if you can tell, but look at the pretty raindrops on this oh gosh, now I'm not thinking of the name of it, but fennel, on this fennel. Isn't that pretty? Blackberries are getting ripe. I looked for another one of these little calabachoas that's this pretty orange, because this one is not looking so good. But you never know. They can pick up and go, but these calabachoas, I have a hard time with those anyway, so we will see though. I will keep hoping for them. Look at this pretty little cigar plant. And it looks like my little begonias that I put in this pot are not going to make it either. They're not looking at all good. So I'll probably put something else in that pot. And this is the type of trellis that I got. I like this because it has places for 3 different little pots. And it looks great. I'll probably move this one because it's getting the drip from this one, and that's probably going to be too much for this little cactus, so it probably won't be kept there, but it's looking so good. I'd like to keep it looking great. I would like for this one to stay in this pot or a different pot, and put this one anyway in separate pots. They need to be in separate pots. My sister gave me this and I almost let it totally die, but it's looking good right now, and I would like for it to just fill that pot up again. And I did go ahead and take all those old yellow petals or foliage off of my little shade cactus, my crown of thorns, and tied it up where maybe it'll be able to pick itself up and go again. I'm certainly hoping it will. I am so disappointed that I lost my little Lenten roses, except for this one, and it's where I have trouble with snails, which is what happened to them. I moved them excuse me, I moved them up here because I had more shade up here than I had after I took my pear tree down, which was shading them nicely in the back, and they were doing well. But I had to move them, and when I did, they're just, they looked great until the snails decided they tasted great, and now I only have this one left. And I will probably try at some point, if I can, to get another collection of them, because they're just such a pretty plant. They're pretty even when they're not in bloom, and then they bloom early in the spring when you're first getting so excited to see those new blooms, and there they are for you. And as I look at this little plant and this little empty spot, I'm thinking I could put a little clipping of it in there. And I did just now go ahead and clip this one back. You can hardly tell that I did, because sometimes when you clip them back, it makes them look fuller, and that's what it did to this little plant. And this one will keep on going, I'm hoping, and just look great. And I put a tiny little piece of it in this pot, along with some more impatiens that I hope will make it this time. And then the others went in this little pot. I had these in this pot last year, and they looked so good. I'm hoping they will fill this pot out again like they did. And just this bright color, it just totally draws your eye to it. And then when it flows out all around this little squirrel and fills this little pot out, it's pretty stunning. Please be sure to like and to subscribe to the channel.